Hello everyone, let's solve the question number 15 of GATE 2025 CS1 paper. A schedule of three databases transaction T1, T2 and T3 is shown. R1 of A and W1 of A denote read and write of the data item A by transaction T1 of I is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. The transaction T1 aborts at the end, which other transaction will be required to roll back. So the given sequence is R1 of X, then W1 of Y, R2 of X, R2 of Y, R3 of Y, and then transaction 1 is aborted. So in order to solve this question, let's first understand what a transaction is. So transaction is a sequence of database operations like read operation, write operation. They are treated as a single logical unit. So what is a single logical unit? A logical unit is basically set of operations happening on a database. So reading, writing are some sort of like transactions. I can say so R1 of X, I can say transaction T1 that read X. W1 of Y, I can say. So if I try to write it, then R1 of X. That means I transaction T1 is reading X. If I write W1 of Y, then means transaction T1 writes to Y. Okay. So this is what it is. Apart from that, let's know what a schedule is. So schedule is a sequence in which operations of multiple transactions are executed. Schedule is a sequence in which multiple operations of a transactions are executed because there can be multiple transactions happening at once. So we schedule them. Okay. There is a sequence which we follow. Now, this is a given sequence to us R1X, then Y, X, then Y, then R3Y, then abort of T1. So as you can see, it is some sort of a dependency that is coming up. You can see. So in which cases does dependency come up? Let's understand that. So as far as we know that uh, in those cases when a particular transaction writes a value, then another one reads. Writing a value. So one particular transaction write the value and another transaction read that value. This is one of the like dependency in which like it will arise. Another dependency where it can arise is write to write as well. So this is one case, write to read and write to write as well. So one writes a value and another also that another as well writes. I think that's enough of the context. So there are two ways or like two conditions in which dependency occur. The first one is you write a value that another one reads, and one write a value that another one has it. Okay, so that another one is a case because we will read that case and based on read or like we will take that information and based on that we will be reading it or writing it and making our own interpretations. Okay, so I think that is very very clear. Now, apart from this, what else we need to know? It can cause cascading issues, like if a transaction fails. So, suppose a transaction fails in this case, since there is a dependency, there should be a rollback. Why? Let's understand that. First, understand what a cascading rollback. Cascading rollback means like a rollback of transaction on the basis of certain sets of things that are happening continuously. So based on one transaction, another transaction is dependent, another dependent. So if one is dependent, then another ones should one if one of them is aborted, then another one should roll back basically. So in technical terms, we say if a transaction reads or write data modified by another transaction either modification in short modification of a transaction if a transaction is reads or write data which is modified by another transaction uh, that aborts so that particular transaction should roll back as well. अगर कोई transaction कोई ऐसा डाटा रीड राइट कर रही है जो किसी अनदर ट्रांजैक्शन किसी दूसरी ट्रांजैक्शन के द्वारा ऑलरेडी चेंज किया जा चुका है और अगर वो ट्रांजैक्शन बंद होती तो दूसरी वाली को भी वापस आ जाना चाहिए, रोल बैक कर लेना चाहिए। ठीक है। ये कंसिस्टेंसी मेंटेन करने के लिए, बिकॉज वी डोंट नो वेदर द पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन read or write the correct information based on what it had. We don't know that. That is why, in order to maintain consistency, when one of that is aborted, another one should also abort. For example, let's now write few things and understand what I'm trying to say. For example, if T1 transaction 1 writes Y, and then transaction 2 reads Y. So first person writes something and another person came and read that. And then transaction 1 aborts. So you abort T1. So we must roll back this reading operation as well, because this read is an invalid value now. Why? Let's take an example and understand it possibly in sometime. We will take an example of like a shared notebook kind of a something. I am thinking of an example. Let me formulate that and then I will be sharing with everyone. So let's now understand what is a recoverable schedule. Recoverable schedule ensure that a particular transaction commits only after the particular transaction it depends on is committed. जब तक दूसरी वाली ट्रांजैक्शन जिस पे वो डिपेंडेंट है कमिट नहीं हो जाती, ये वाली ट्रांजैक्शन कमिट नहीं होगी। अदरवाइज वी रिस्क कास्केडिंग रोल बैक। वी रिस्क कास्केडिंग को रोल बैक बिकॉज वी थ्राइव टू मेंटेन कंसिस्टेंसी। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं। मैं दोबारा बोलता हूँ, until and unless one of the transaction is committed, another one will not commit, which is dependent on them. Otherwise, it can trigger a cascading rollback. We do cascading rollback in order to have consistency of data. Okay, so let's understand what this is about. Let's understand the whole thing again. Now, the given way to us is R1 of X. Let's write that basically. So R1 X is given. This means T1 reads X. Then W1 Y is written. That means T1 writes to Y. And R2 of X is written. That means R T2 transaction 2 reads X. Uh, so now, is there any dependency? So it is from before T1's right. Matlab, when a dependency is there, when write to read or write to write is there. So that is not the case. This is transaction one has not been what do you call it? Written anywhere. So there is no before T1's write. So no dependency. R2 of Y, we are trying to read. So T2 reads Y. So Y is already written, and now another person comes and reads it. There is a dependency now. There, because uh, T1 actually wrote Y already, and another person came, so trying to read it. So I can say it is a dependency on T1. Now, after that, the person came and writes R3 to Y. That means T3 transaction 3 reads Y, I can say. And T1 wrote Y already, so dependency on T1, I will write transaction 3 reads Y. That means T1 already, so there is a dependency. After that, abort T1. So if I abort transaction T1, then all the dependencies as well, since the data is not committed, it is uncommitted data. If I abort T1 now, then the dependent transaction will also cascade, roll back due to cascading rollback concept. What does cascading rollback say? If a data is not committed, then another dependent transactions will also like not commit until the previous one is not done. So when I abort, technically T1, R2, R3. So like T2 and T3 both should also roll back. So this is what we understand from the particular question. So which other transaction should we roll back when we abort T1? So T2 and T3 should roll back because they are dependent on T1. So as per the given question, option C, both T2 and T3 is the correct answer. That's it for this particular video. Take care. Bye bye. See you guys in the next video.